flattening forests as it swept down the mountain. 4 miles beneath the erupting summit, Spirit Lake was overtaken by debris, lifting its waterline by more than 200 feet. The eruption spewed toxic gases miles into the air. The northern slope of the mountain became buried in several feet of ash, snuffing out nearly all life in its path. 57 people died in the eruption, including loggers, scientists, campers, and one unlucky reporter. Some of the dead were found upwards of 13 miles away from the volcano, in areas previously considered safe from a major eruption. The drifting ash continued throughout the day, disrupting air traffic for hundreds of miles in every direction of what became known as the blowdown zone. On the ground, trees and wildlife were incinerated by hot ash and rock in a 200 square mile radius around the volcano, turning a once verdant landscape into charred, moon-like desolation. More than 100 species of birds were eradicated from the region, along with deer and elk, black bears, wolverines, cougars, and bobcats. 40 years later, the region has experienced a gradual return to life, while the mountain itself has seen nearly 1,300 feet of her summit permanently removed. The once majestic mountain peak now sports a gaping crater a mile wide and 2,000 feet deep, making Mount St. Helens eruption the largest and most destructive volcanic catastrophe in North America in well over a century. And there you have it, the Mount St. Helens eruption, today on the Daily Dose. Today on the Daily Dose, the sinking of the Lusitania. Launched in 1906 by the Cunard Line, the nearly 800-foot-long ocean liner was comprised of 9 passenger decks, housing a maximum 2,198 passengers, along with 850 crew members. It would be the first ship of the Cunard Line's 4-funneled grand trio of ships, which would soon include the RMS Mauretania and the RMS Aquitania. On May 7, 1915, amidst some of the worst early combat of World War I, the RMS Lusitania was sunk by a German U-boat as it made its way from Liverpool to New York City. Of the 2,000 men, women, and children aboard, 1,200 would perish after the torpedo found its mark. Arguably one of the most luxurious vessels in the age of ocean liners, the Lusitania sank in less than 18 minutes after the German torpedo struck its hull. The vessel went down in 300 feet of water, 11 miles off the southern coast of Ireland. Backlash following the sinking turned public opinion in many countries against the Huns, contributing greatly to the United States' entry into the war. Argument over whether the ship was a legitimate military target raged back and forth for many years during and after the war, as both sides made misleading claims about the ship's purpose and intent. For their part, the Germans justified categorizing the Lusitania as a naval vessel, since at the time of her sinking, the ship was carrying over 4 million rounds of small arms ammunition, nearly 5,000 shrapnel shell casings, and 3,240 brass percussion fuses. The Germans further argued that the Lusitania, like many British merchant ships, routinely violated the internationally recognized cruiser rules, which forbade attacks on civilian ocean liners and non-military merchant ships. In 1982, the British indeed admitted that munitions were on board the ship, although no active weapons were aboard. As for the Germans' decision to take the lives of 1,200 innocent victims, it remains a glaring stain to their reputation as a humane and ethical nation, only to be dwarfed by the inhumanity of the Holocaust committed by the Germans in World War II. And there you have it, the sinking of the Lusitania, today on the Daily Dose. Today on the Daily Dose, the Space Shuttle program. Christened by NASA as the Space Transportation System, or STS, the Space Shuttle project was taken from a 1969 proposed conception for a system of partially reusable low Earth orbit spacecraft. The first of 4 orbital test flights occurred in 1981, leading to the first operational flights beginning in 1982. 5 Space Shuttle orbiters were built and flown on a total of 135 missions from 1981 to 2011, including 2 flight failures which resulted in the deaths of 14 astronauts. The Space Shuttle missions launched numerous satellites, interplanetary probes, and the Hubble Space Telescope, as well as the construction and servicing of the International Space Station. The shuttle fleet's total mission time was 1,322 days, 19 hours, 21 minutes, and 23 seconds. The primary components that made shuttle